Today we are covering this foldable. The front looks like this. It says linear pairs and vertical angles. Okay, so the first thing we're learning is the linear pair postulate. So it says that if angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair, so if you know two angles are in a linear pair, then angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. Okay, so as you see down here, we know these two angles right here form a linear pair. So this angle on the left is angle QRT, and the angle on the right is angle TRS. So since angle QRT and TRS form a linear pair, then we know that those two angles add to equal 180 degrees. So angle QRT is 3x plus 5, and measure of angle TRS is 10x minus 7, and that equals 180 degrees. So now to solve, you combine like terms. 3x plus 10x is 13x. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. That equals 180. So now we add the 2 to both sides. So we have 13x equals 182. And then we're going to divide by 13. So we find out that x equals 14. Now if they ask for x, we are done. And if they want the angles, then we need to substitute x back in to find out how much each angle is. Okay, the other theorem we're learning today is the vertical angles congruence theorem. And it says if angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles, then they are congruent. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. So these two angles, this angle right here, this is angle TPS, and this angle right here, kind of draw around that, this is angle QPS. They are vertical angles. I'm sorry, QPR. There we go. They are vertical angles, so that means they are congruent. Now, if two angles are congruent, then that means that the measure, the actual degrees that relates to that angle, they are equal. So if they are congruent, then they can also be equal. So this is kind of a small detail, but notice that when they are congruent, I use the angle symbol. When they're equal, I have to use the M that represents measure and then the angle symbol. That is specifically how it should be written. So now angle TPS is 148 degrees. And measure of angle QPR is 3x plus 1. So now we solve for x, so we're going to subtract the 1. So that's 147. And then to get x by itself, we're going to divide by the 3. And we, of course, use our calculator if needed. And we find out that 49 equals x. And once again, if they want us to find x, then we're done. If they want to know the angle measure, we can plug it back in. And hopefully, since they should be congruent, if we plug in 49, it should equal 148 degrees. Let's try it. 3 times 49 plus 1 is 148 degrees. So that totally checks out. That makes sense. All right, let's turn to the inside of the foldable. So example 1 here says, solve for x and y. So let's take a look at what we know. So if you look at this angle right here, this angle and this angle are vertical. But I don't want to do vertical angles because if you look, this angle has a y and this has an x. So that's not actually going to help me any. So let's go and take that off. So what will help me is if you look right here, these two angles are both y and they form a linear pair because they make a line. So those two angles form a linear pair, which means the two angles add together to equal 180 degrees. So that's 13y plus 11 equals 180. So now we're going to subtract the 11. This is just solving like we've done a million times in algebra, so no big deal. All right, 180 minus 11 is 169. And divide by 13, and I get y equals 13. Okay. So that's y. Now I want to also find x. So if I take a look here, these two angles right here are both have x's in them, and together they form a linear pair. So linear pair means they add up and equal 180 degrees. So we can combine like terms. 7x plus 4x is 11x. 4 minus 22 is negative 18, and it equals 180. Okay, so from there to get x by itself, we add 18. We get 11x equals 198, and then divide by 11. All right, and that gets me, if I scroll up here a little bit, x equals 18. So I've now found x and y, which is what the instructions asked me to do. Okay, let's look at example 2. Example 2 says, if the measure of angle 1 is 117 degrees, find the other 3 angles. Well, first of all, angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, so they're congruent. So that means angle 3 is also 117 degrees. Now, if you look at, for example, angle 1 and angle 4, they add up, they are a linear pair, so that means angle 1 plus angle 4 adds up to equal 180 degrees. Well, you know angle 1 is 117 degrees. So if you substitute that in, now you're going to solve for angle 4 and you're going to subtract. So you're going to subtract the 117 from both sides. So you have the measure of angle 4 equals 180 minus 117. That's 63 degrees. So angle 4 is 63 degrees, and whatever angle 4 is the same as angle 2 because they are vertical angles. So we'll try another one of those when we get to example 4. It'll be very similar to this one. Okay, so going over here to example 3. So let's take a look. It says solve for S, T, and U. All right, so first of all, look where we have the same variable. That is right here. There's a t in that location. And right here, there's a t in that location. So what type of angles, angle pairs, are the two highlighted spots? Are they a linear pair or are they vertical angles? All right, they are a linear pair because together they form a line. Now, what do we know about linear pairs? Are they congruent? Or are they supplementary, which means they add to 180 degrees? All right, they're supplementary, so that means we can add them and set them equal to 180 degrees. So that's 35t plus 5 equals 180. So go ahead and find out what t equals. All right, so I'm going to subtract the 5. And I'm going to divide by 35. And remember how I told you that you need to show some steps, but you don't have to show every single step in great detail if you feel solid on your algebra skills. But if your algebra skills aren't the best, then yes, you still want to do the work out on paper. Okay, so this, if t is 5, this is 15 times 5, which is 75 degrees. That's for this angle right here. Now over here, 20t, I'm sorry, if t is 5, I can substitute 20 in. So 20 times 5 plus 5 means this angle is 105 degrees. All right, so if I know those two angles, how big is u? Okay, so u and the angle that's 75 degrees are vertical, so u will be 75 degrees. Okay, so now, based on what I have, how big is S? All right, so this angle is 105 degrees, and it's the same as S, so S is also 105 degrees because S and 105 degrees are vertical angles, so they are congruent. Okay, last but not least, let's look at example 4. So on example 4, we know that angle 2 is 59 degrees. Okay, so if angle 2 is 59 degrees, which angle is congruent to angle 2? Angle 4 is congruent to angle 2 because they are vertical angles. So if angle 4 is congruent to 2, how big is angle 4? Angle 4 would be 59 degrees. Okay, so if we look now, let's say angle 1 and angle 2 right here. Together, angle 1 and angle 2 form what type of pair? Are they a linear pair or are they a pair of vertical angles? All right, they are a linear pair. So they're a linear pair. How big is angle 1? Okay, so I would do angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 because they are a linear pair. I don't know angle 1, but I know that angle 2 is 59 degrees. So then I can subtract the 59. And feel free to use a calculator. I find out that it's 121 degrees, so that's angle 1. So based on the information, how big is angle 3? All right, angle 3 is also 121 degrees because angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, so they are congruent.